So welcome to this Android course in the fall semester. The first thing we need is the IDE. Of course, the IDE that I will be using is Android Studio. So I just write Android Studio download, and you can go to the developer.android.com website and you can download the Android Studio. We also need the Java Development Kit, so JDK. You can also download the JDK. First, you should install the JDK. In my case, there was some issues, so I just downloaded the JDK version 8, and you should try to install this one first, accept the agreement, and depending on which operating system you are using. My operating system is Windows x64, so I just downloaded this one and installed it. And I hope once you install the JDK and Android Studio, you are ready to work for develop applications for Android. So here is the Android Studios, and you can click here on the configuration and go to SDK Manager. I hope you must have installed it, and then from here you can even search for SDK. And over here, which platform you want to install, you need to select it. For example, I just selected Marshmallow and Android 9, and you can select any of the platforms. So if you click on the show details, you can see that you need the SDK platform. So the SDK platform must be installed, and if you need the other components, then those can be installed. So you must select at least one of the platforms that you want to use or that you are targeting to develop. And also for SDK tools, in our case, this x86 emulator accelerator is required, and these are already default selected by the Android Studio, so I did not change them. And if you want, you can also update them. So right now I don't need it, so I'm just going to cancel that. So let us go and create our first new Android Studios project. If you are going to start with a new project, then you must select here, and this one most probably will not be shown on your screen if you are installing it for the first time. I added this, I included this part myself to create Flutter projects. And you can also open existing Android projects if you have already developed, and you can also use the version control system, for example, from the Git, or we can also import Gradle from Eclipse, ADT, etc., or we can open the profile or debug APK files. So we are not interested in them right now. So I'm just going to create a new Android Studio project, and you can develop for any of these: television, Android Auto, Android Internet of Things. Just we are interested in phone and the tablets, and there are some already activities are being given, developed. Some sort of templates are here. For example, maybe if you're interested in Google Map application or some tabbed activity, but we are going to start with an empty activity so that we can learn something from scratch. So I'm going to give my app as the week 1-1, and I'm just going to create, I'm just going to change this path so that I'm creating on this location. You can give any name. The package name should be a unique name, so usually they recommend like your website, and then the name of your application. So this one will become the package name. This should be a unique package name. So if you are interested in installing in the Google Play Store, then this name should not be same as anything else. So this is the location you can change, and right now we have two options, the Java and the Kotlin. So I'm selecting the Java, and you can also select which minimum API level that your application will be running on. So I just selected 5.0. So if we select the higher API version like 29, then you can see that this app, app may be running on less than 1% of the devices in the whole world. So I just want my application to run on more than 85%. Even you can select a lower version of API. So I'm fine with API REST. I'm not going to change it. So I'm going to click on finish. So let me wait for few minutes because it will take time for the Gradle to set up my project. Okay, so my Gradle has successfully finished syncing my project. As you can see, these are all green tick marks, which indicates that the building my project was successful. So I'm just going to close this main activity and activity underscore main.xml, and let's look at some of the structures of our project. So when you look here, so we have just selected the Android project. We can see the complete project. So we have some external libraries as well. So this is our project. So it's better to just look at the stuff related to Android. So we can see here the app folder in the Gradle script. So we can describe, or we will discuss about the Gradle, how it is building our project in a later class. So let us focus on this, what is inside the app folder. So the app folder consists of a manifest, the Java, and we can see a resource folder. So this is automatically generated. I'm not going to discuss about it, and it is not important for us at the moment, although it is important, but we are not going to discuss right now. So the manifest file folder consists of an Android manifest.xml file. So this file is important because the manifest file, there must be one Android manifest file in our apps root folder, which basically describes what our application is. For example, what it is going to describe is, for example, there are how many activities are there in our XML. We will see what is an activity in a bit a moment later, and it says that this is the main activity and this is the launcher activity, which means that this activity will be launched first when we start our application. And some themes, and if it is supporting the backup or not, and some information, the level information about our application. So if we keep adding more activities will be added here. What other information may be here is like, for example, permissions can also be added here in this XML file, that our application, for example, wants to access the camera, then we should allow it to access the camera. If our application wants to have access to the external SD card, for example, then we should have access to that or not. So all those information related to the application will be stored in this Android manifest.xml. Another folder that we see here is the Java. So inside we can see Android test, and there is a test. So these are basically we will use for testing our application. So the most important right now here is the com.example.week1 underscore 1. This is the name of my package. So when I double click on this activity, and you can see there is a public class, and the name is the same as the main activity. It is basically a Java class which basically extends app compat activity. So it is basically the super class or the parent class of my main activity. So main activity is nothing but a subclass of this app compatible an activity class, and we are usually using this app compat so that it should have the compatibility with the previous versions of the Android. So the activity which we show is basically whatever we see on the screen is an activity. So the screen is known as the activity in Android. So, and this onCreate method is the first method that will be called once the activity is created. So we will be entering into this onCreate method once our application or this activity starts. And inside we are calling the onCreate method of the superclass, that is this app activity, and then we are saying that the set content view or dot layout dot activity underscore main. So let's see this one. So what you need to remember is inside the Java, the code that we need to write is present here. So we will be writing the Java code inside this class. And there is another folder which is also very important, is the resource folder. And inside resource folder, we have drawable, layout, map, and values folder. So drawable and a map are usually used for resources such as the images. We can put the images or other sort of data which is not actually the code, is usually we put inside the drawable resources. For example, there's an XML file and another XML file, and inside map there are some sort of image files like the icons over here. So the drawable and map will contain images, and inside the layout, this is a very important XML file. The layout means what will be the design of our user interface. So this one will show us, for example, right now we are seeing only one text view. As we can see, there is a text view inside it. So using this layout or the XML activity underscore main.xml file, we can drag and drop these buttons, images, whatever we want on our screen. So all the designing stuff will be prepared, or we can do it in activity underscore main.xml. So this is the design view of the this XML. So you can see this activities interface, how it looks like, and we can also change it from by using the its XML. So you can see that this is one layout, that is the root layout, which we call it the constraint layout, and inside that there is one text view. So you can see that this is the constraint layout, which starts from here and it ends here, and inside it we have one text view. Right now we have one text view. I'm just going to delete that text view, and also I just want to change this layout from constraint layout to maybe a linear layout. And when we say linear layout, we need to mention the orientation. That is, I just want to put the vertical, which means that I will show in a moment. So I just changed the linear layout from constant layout into a linear layout, which I will show in a moment how it works. So if you look here, there is a select design interface. We can show the blueprint, that is, we can have a preview, or we can select both of them. So you can drag and drop the elements from here and put it here, and this will be the preview of our elements, our interface. And sometimes if you want to refresh it, then you can force refresh if you make any change and it does not show. Or you can change the orientation between, this is the portrait orientation, you can change it to landscape. For example, if you are developing for some sort of tablet, we may require to show the interface in landscape, so I just keep it as portrait. And also you can select different type of the screens that you are developing the application for. For example, if you want to develop for a TV application, then the interface should look like this. The width is much higher than the height. So since I'm not interested in that, I'm just selecting a 5-inch mobile interface. So this is the version of the API which I have installed, and this is just the 28, and you can select different themes, but I'm happy with the default theme. So you can also use the default language. It's okay. I don't have any issues with this. You can zoom it out and zoom in. And also here, when you click on this show layout decoration, so this will basically display the how actually and the stop bar, and these are the battery and the Wi-Fi connection. This is the actual interface that will be shown in the battery. But if you have less space, then you can also hide it. You may not need it, but if you want, you can keep it like this. So I'm just interested in putting the design view only. So I'm just going to show this design, and we have selected the linear layout and it is in vertical direction. So this is called the component tree that will show which controls we have and which is the parent control, which are the child controls. So we can put them in a parent-child relationship. And this is the palette where we can have different controls like text view, buttons, and different types of text buttons that we have, radio buttons, toggle buttons, switches. These are different widgets and like progress bar, web view, and there are different types of layout supported. Here the containers, the spinner, the scroll view, fragments, and from Google we have the Google Maps, especially we will see it, and some of the legacy components. So the main question here is, this is my user interface which is defined in activity underscore main, and my Java code is written in main activity. Now the question is, for this activity I want to tell that your interface or your design looks like this. So we need to tell this Java class somehow that your layout is this one. So these two are connected. So this is the design and this is my code. So to tell this activity that your design is this activity underscore main, we use this method set content view. And we are saying that set content view, this R is for resources. So we go to this resources folder and go to the layout. So inside the resources, we go to the layout, and this is the design that you will show for this activity. So this is how we are telling this activity that your content view is defined in this location, that is in the resources, in the layout, activity underscore main. So this is how these are two now connected. So and let us design and put something here. We can go to the common. Maybe I can put a text view here. So this is how I put a text view. And maybe we can put a plain text also. So this is the plain text. As you can see that as soon I add these elements inside my linear layout, they are put in vertical direction. So that's why we have selected the vertical layout. So they will be, first element will be here, next will be there, third. So let us put some password text as well. And let us put a button also over here. So this is all about the designing. You can also add here, for example, as soon I keep adding these text view, uh, plain text, and this is another password text and a button, as you can see that my XML is also changing. So this is a text view, edit view has been added, there's another edit view for password, and we have a button. So you can edit here as well as here, so whichever you are comfortable with. So let me close this one. I am just clicking on this text view, and if you see here, this is one of the most important. We have the attributes. So whichever element I am selecting, for example, I selected the linear layout, and these are the attributes of my linear layout, which I will change. And for example, for text view, there is an ID. Right now we need this ID when we want to write a code inside this Java class, so that we should know which element we are talking about. So here text view, the match parent, we are selecting match parent. It means that layout underscore width, this one's width is equal to its parent width. So right now this one's parent, as we can see, it's the linear layout. So how big my linear layout is, the width of my text will be that much. So usually we cannot make this match parent because the height of the parent is too big, and we just want its height to be equal to the content. So whatever the content or whatever the size of my text should be, its height should be the content. Inside the text view, you can write anything. Welcome to Android. So this is the message that just I want to change it. And this is the text, as you can see, welcome to the Android. So the text property that I have changed. Visibility means do you want to show it or not? So I just want to show it. And there are some alphabetical all the attributes here. I just want to change something. Even we can change it from here. For example, if you want to capitalize the words or what you want, the sentence or whatever, clickable. I don't want to do anything with it. The only thing that just I want to change is, let's go down and change some of the text size. So I need to go to T. So here it is. We can change the text alignment, what you want. It should be the end or the beginning. I'm just not changing it at all. Color, I'm just keeping the color of the text same as it is. I just want to change the text size to be a bit more. So 24 SP means scaled pixels. So I just change the size of my text. And I also want to do one more thing. Let me say I want to add some margins. So layout underscore margins, I want to put, let's say, 20 scaled pixels on the left side. Now observe here on the left side, you can see there are some 20 pixels. There is space available. Also do the same on the right side and also do the same on the top. Maybe top we can do 10 scaled pixels. So now observe that there is some space on top, to the right, and to the left. We can do the same thing for the name layout, or the name uh, edit text as well. So I'm just putting to the left and to the right 20 pixels, and on top 10 scaled pixels. We can also do the same for this uh, another. This is for password. So top will be 10 scaled pixels, to the left 20 scaled pixels, to the right is again 20 scaled pixels. We can also do the same thing. I forgot to the left, so left should be 20 scaled pixels. And for the button, we can also do left 20, right 20, and the top 10 scaled pixels. Okay, this looks okay. I forgot for this one. What is the right? Okay, now it is fine. So this is how the interface looks like. Why I forget for the right. Okay, so this is how the I just want to, maybe we want to change the background of the linear layout. So I just selected the linear layout. You can select from here or from here. So we can search for the background. We can go to the background, and from the colors or from the Android, whatever you want, you can change the color. For example, I just want a very, very light color. If I can find it here, maybe something like this, doesn't matter. Okay, so this is, it doesn't look good, so I just delete that color. I don't want that color. Maybe for this button we can change the color. So I just want to go to my colors, and maybe I can select the primary color. Okay, and I just want to change the text on this. So instead of writing the button, we can write the submit and align according to the center. It is already in the center. So maybe we can also change its color to be white because we cannot see that. So we can go and select the color and it is now submit is in white. Maybe we can also increase the size. So instead of 14, I'm saying 30. Okay, it looks okay and it looks fine for me, and maybe I just want to change the color. Okay, one more thing that is important is we don't need the text for in order to show that this text box is for the password or for the name, we use the hint property. So I just write the hint name and also the hint for this text box too, and this is password. And you can also drag and drop some elements like an image view if you want, and as a default image you can select some sort of image, maybe, I don't know, if you are interested. So you can see there is an image. So we can also set the margins as we did for the other control. So I selected it maybe to the top, maybe 10 scale pixels. Maybe just I want to put the top. And one important thing, it is not always necessary that we should be selecting the width should be match underscore pants. Let's say I just want to make it 100 scale pixels and also its height to be 100 scale pixels. So it is not necessary that we are doing the same thing for all. So this is just whatever I want. I just put the pixels. Now I want this one to be the center. So what we can do, gravity property. So layout underscore gravity and center horizontal. So once we click that, it will be in the center. So this is just a simple design of our user interface. And let us run this application. And in order to run it, or before running it, if you want to change this week1 underscore 1, I forgot to tell you about one more thing, the values. Inside these values we have colors, so these are different color schemes that we can use. So in Android we can define all the colors to make the consistent interfaces. So we can define in colors.xml, the string.xml, we can define all the strings which we are using. For example, I write this text box and the submit text directly inside my buttons text event. So this is what the message I received: hard-coded string substring submit should use string resource. So this says that please define these text not here as a hard code, you should define inside this string resource. Later we will see how we can define them here. By the way, if you notice that the whatever is written here, week1-1, it is basically coming from this string resource. So we can change it to welcome mobile, welcome Android, for example. So you can see here that this is the title that we are reading from here, and similarly we can define all different sort of styles inside this styles resource file. So what I want you to understand from this lecture or from this today's 1 2 3 go, what I want you to get something from today's lecture is the manifest file basically defines all the information about our application, the Java file, and particularly this the inside our package. These are the Java codes where we will be writing the Java code. Basically, these are the activities. are basically the interfaces that we will show, or the Android will show to us. And for every activity there is some interface which is basically defined inside the layout. So these are connected using the set content view. So we are saying inside the resource there is a layout, and then pick the layout underscore activity underscore main. And the drawable and the map are basically used to, we can put some resources such as the images, other XMLs, or other sort of images, other sort of things over here. And then we have color, strings, and style resources which we can use in Android application for consistency. And the Gradle is basically used to build the application for us, which we will discuss later. And let us run this application on our Android virtual device. So to launch the Android virtual device, you can go to Android Virtual Device Manager. So if you have not set up an Android virtual device, you can create a virtual device, select any of the devices that you want, and then you need to click on next, and which API you want. For example, I just selected the Pi. You need to, for example, these are not installed over here. So Nougat is also installed. So you can select one of the releases that you want, and then you can click and install. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to run this Android virtual device monitor device. Just click on this play, launch this AVD in the emulator. This will launch my emulator, and for first time it will take some time, so you just need to wait for a moment. So the emulator is ready. I'm just going to close it, and let us launch our application by clicking on this play button, run app. So this is how the application has been successfully installed on my emulator, and it looks like this. Of course, the submit button will do nothing, so we just put some user interface elements, and we did not write any of the code, so we can write anything here, and we can write the password. So this is how we can design the user interfaces and run the application in Android Studios. So see you in next week with another video.